welcome to Nutrition in the News. In this installment, we're discussing an article published in the International Journal of Obesity in May of 2015. In the study, researchers looked at the potential role of BMI-associated genetic variations, or genes, in body composition changes. That's how much fat mass, how much lean mass you have, and the relationship with exercise. Now, there are several recent studies that suggest that certain genetic factors are associated with body weight and changes in body weight. So what does this mean? Well, it means that collectively our genes, not these, are part of a whole body weight and weight management scenario. So it's nature and nurture, what you do and kind of what you're made of. Now, in general, we've known this. We know genetics plays a part in this. But researchers are not actually able to tell us what genes are involved. With that, some of these genes have variability, a mutation really, but it's so common that we call it a polymorphism, meaning multiple forms. Poly, many, forms, meaning forms, and it's a tiny little change in one nucleotide. We call it a single nucleotide polymorphism. We're just going to call it SNP for now. So this tiny little difference can have big effects on metabolism and all sorts of things, not just body weight. In this particular study, the researchers wanted to know if this combination of 21 such SNPs would have an impact on the changes in body composition in obese women that were engaging in high-intensity resistance training. So 148 women were split into two groups, one that was exercising, and this was a supervised intervention, and one that didn't. So we knew that the ladies were exercising. We knew when they were doing that. And what did they do? They had 75 minutes of high-intensity resistance training 3 days a week for a year. They did exercise in a facility, and the exercises were planned by the researchers. Within the exercise and control groups, the women's genetic risk score, these SNPs, were then measured. How many do you have? And the score was just based on that. The bigger the number, the higher your risk. So what happened? Well, at the start, both groups didn't have any significant difference in their basic characteristics. Or these are the things the researchers also looked to measure. And at the end of the year, after the end of the intervention, they reported that participants in the exercise group as a whole gained more lean muscle mass and lost more fat than the non-exercising group. Okay, that makes sense. If you exercise, you'll build some muscle, and hopefully you'll burn some fat. Well, they gained strength as well, again, because of muscle. As far as the genes were concerned, well, these 21 genes collectively were found to have interactions with exercise and change in body composition in these women. Now, with no one SNP alone, no one gene changed the whole gamut, but it was the compilation of these. They found was the more that someone had, the less benefit they got from the exercise. So specifically, women that were exercising, not just in the exercise group, were kind of grouped, by lowest risk, the least amount of these SNPs, moderate risks, more SNPs, and high risk, the most SNPs. The women in the high-risk group lost less fat and gained less muscle than the other two groups. So why do you think this happens? Like, you see someone else working out just as hard, you're both working out just as hard, for some reason you have different results. And certainly it might be what you're doing and how you're eating and how you're living, but yes, your genes play a role as well. Researchers hypothesized that these genetic differences could mean differences in taste perception, satiety response, energy output, or even metabolic differences that have nothing to do with what you're eating necessarily, that causes some individuals just simply more easily store fat and less easily burn it. And all of our bodies really are designed or are going to store fat to protect us in case of famine. We didn't know that the grocery store is just around the corner. We're still worried about losing too much fat. A healthy weight individual losing too much fat is not good for survival. And while we can't dismiss lifestyle and behavior, certainly remember the folks exercising still did better than those who were not. They had better outcomes. But yes, some people just may have to work harder to manage their weight than others. And for some people, the best bet is not to gain the weight to begin with. Are there other aspects of life where this is true? Can you overcome this nature with nurture? Does it just mean you'll have to try a little harder?